Thank you for tuning in to the Afternoon Pint. This episode is sponsored by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty, Strategy Up Business Consultants, and ISS Atlantic Security Guard Services. Enjoy the show. Cheers! Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. I'm Mike Tobin.
I am Matt Conrad.
And who do we have with us today?
Stephen Adams.
Stephen Adams. Who is Stephen Adams?
Some guy just outside there talking to people, and you guys asked me if I could talk.
Yeah, our guest didn't show up today, so we just saw this guy standing on the street now.
And there's four other guys you asked, and they refused, so I'm your guy.
Well, I think you're a pretty good catch. So, Executive Director of UDI, 30 years, 29 years as a councillor here in Halifax?
29.
Yep. 29. And 29 years as a pharmaceutical rep as well, is that right?
27.
27, okay,
yeah.
cool.
But 22 of the years, I was doing both.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
This is your second time on this show.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, but the first time you would have only heard that if you're at the Ideal Home Show. So I think a lot more people are going to get to hear you this time around. So thanks for coming back. Yeah.
Sure. No, my pleasure.
Yeah, happy to have it. I've known Steve a long time. Steve actually went to high school with like half of my family, aunts and uncles, and my parents.
And
or whatever.
I played a hockey and ball with your,
That's right,
your dad and uncles.
That's right. Yeah.
They were good athletes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dad.
Very
Yeah.
good
Dad.
athletes.
Oh, yeah.
My,
Dad and his brothers were. Yeah, they're pretty good athletes. It's true. So, Steve would know. You know, you were up until just this year. You were still quite involved with the hockey community.
Well, I still am.
Yeah, you're still involved.
I still am.
You kind of relinquished ownership of the.
Yeah, what I did, 14 years, started from scratch. And this fellow was interested, and I think, 14 years is a long time. So I transferred the ownership of the team, but I'm still involved in a managerial position, and I still love it. I was at the rink Sunday night.
You get a rebrand? That was great.
Yeah, that's right. And that's one of the logos we had played around with for a couple of years just on the website, right? So, the tack with the shark and District 11, 11 on the tape and 11 teeth in the shark's mouth. So it's kind of neat. And I'm still involved. You would, like I told people, you won't know that I'm no longer the owner.
Right. Yeah.
And people are saying, they thought I sold it. I didn't. I was offered 3 years ago. I was offered $20,000 for the team.
Okay.
And I said no, because the fellow who wanted it didn't want it for the right reasons.
Okay.
Right? He had his young fella and a friend of his wanted to play.
Yeah. So he wanted to buy a team.
Yeah, they couldn't play dead. They're not good enough, right? So I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to compromise the team.
No, that's fair.
For a couple dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so
exactly.
I transferred it over to him. And he's happy and done some good recruiting.
Yeah.
The team will be stronger than last year's team.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Incredible.
Really
last
good.
year's team was 25-3.
Yeah.
And one of those losses was a forfeit. So the team was strong.
Yeah.
Just didn't do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you go 25-3, and then in the playoffs you end up going 3-5.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, that's very Leafs energy there.
Oh, I tell you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well,
a sick burn. So.
You enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I like the Leafs. They talk about Marner.
Well, you're a Rangers fan, though.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm a Cubs fan, too. That's worse. So they talk about Marner and Matthews and all the other stuff. They don't show up in the playoffs, but if you think about it, they're the reason they get to the playoffs.
Oh, that's true.
Right? They just need a little extra. They should have gotten Brad.
That would have been awesome.
As soon as Brad went to the Panthers, I texted his brother and said they will repeat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Florida was built. They won it last year anyway. They're a playoff built team. And Brad's exactly the type of player that the Leafs need. They have all the skill and the finesse that they need. The goaltending's actually pretty good. They just needed a player like Brad.
They need an edge.
Yeah, exactly.
They need
and
an edge.
Love him or hate him,
it.
Brad's an edge.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, you hate him when he's not playing. I remember I went to Brad's, I think it was his dad's home, or maybe it was Brad's home, I don't know, for insurance type stuff. And I went there, and I met with his dad there.
Yeah, Kevin.
And Kevin's a great guy, and he gave me a tour of the house and everything. And they have like the spot. Actually, it's owned by you.
By us,
yeah. So we were out there, and gave me a tour of the place and everything. I saw the big fire pit, and they had Brad's chair painted with his jersey and all that stuff. They're going to repaint that now, though.
Well,
but I said to Kevin, I said, I hate your son though, and he was like, excuse me. I was like, I'm a Leafs fan, and Boston has seriously upset my team too many times. That I can't like your son. I'm sorry. Would I like to have him on my team though? Absolutely.
Yes. And they got him for a song, right?
Crazy. Yeah.
They thought it would be a rental, but fooled them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, that's good. So Steve's a big sports guy, but we can kind of rewind a little bit, back to where this thing all kind of started. Is like you dove right into politics fairly early. Like you were in your mid 20s?
I was 30.
Were you 30? I thought okay.
I was 30. And
what were you doing just before politics? What was the jump like?
I was in pharmaceuticals. I was in pharmaceutical industry when I was 26 years old.
Yep.
Okay.
And I started November 3rd that year. And in October that year, I graduated from Dow with my second degree in commerce.
Okay.
So I'll never forget. I went to a funeral on the weekend, and a fella there, Ronnie Ryan, great fella, coached his son in hockey. Coached a lot of kids in Spryfield, and it was in March. And he calls me on Sunday morning. He said, "Steve, a bunch of us been talking, and we think you should run for alderman." And I always said I just wanted to sign that. It sounds a little hokey, but I wanted to sign, excuse me, to say it's time. It was time.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's a long time to hold down a position, 30 years. And that's a volatile position because obviously there's votes. You get voted out at any time. What was the secret sauce? You think that got you stick around all that time?
So there's a few reasons. One, I remember the first time at Amalgamation.
Yeah.
And the first door I went to was in Williamswood. I remember walking down a lane. It was probably a 50-foot lane. Walk up. It was 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. Knock on the door. Guy comes to the door and says, I said, "Hi there, my name's Stephen Adams." "Yeah, I know who you are." "Oh, boy. This is not good."
Yeah.
And I said, "Look, I'd just like to leave you a bit of information if I could." He says, "Yeah, I don't need it." "Okay." So I said, "Well, look, I appreciate your time. Thank you." And he says, "Hang on a second." "Okay." So I said, "What can I do for you?" He says, "Well, I don't like what happened I don't like what's going on with the taxi industry. I don't like what you did with the city manager, and I don't like what's going on at Bears Lake." I said, "Well, look, I really appreciate you letting me know."
Yeah.
And I took a step. You can't see this on radio, but I took a step and turned toward to the main road, to Old Chamber Road, and he goes, "One other thing." And I remember I put my eyes up to the sky, turned around, said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I want the two biggest signs you have." I said, "Pardon?" He says, "I want one there and one there." He says, "I don't always agree with you, but I don't have to read your mind."
Oh, there you go.
And that was important. But the other two, like call people back, send them an email, at least contact them. Cecil Wright asked me the same question. And one thing I said is never hold a grudge.
Yeah.
Never hold a grudge. And always take the high road because there's far less traffic there.
Yeah. Early on, you were a defender of Spryfield. I remember you really going to bat against the media defending Spryfield. So I'm sure that also kind of garnered some pride, some civic pride.
That's why I started. That's why I got involved. And going to Dow in the mornings, it was an election, I think it was 1980. And you see all the signs on the way in on the Cooper Board. And I said, someday I'm going to do this. There's someday, not today, but someday. And then Ronnie called me, and here we go.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like the way Spryfield was portrayed in the media. I didn't like the way we were being treated.
Yeah.
And it was unfair.
Right.
And it was all reputation. Like if something good happened, it was Halifax. If something bad happened, it was Spryfield. And the media, and I'll tell this right to them, they misinterpreted police reports, shall we say.
Right.
Crime happened in Spryfield when it was Cowie Hill. One of the really bizarre ones, I was in Toronto, and I had the online newspaper. And the headline was, "Drug Bust in Dartmouth and Spryfield."
Right.
Okay, so I checked, and it wasn't Spryfield. It was in Klein Heights or Armdale, whatever.
Yeah.
And I called the reporter, said, "Man, you need a map or a geography lesson, because that's wrong."
Right.
So he says, "Well, let me check." And he did. So the headline next was Doug Rust in Dartmouth and Halifax.
Yeah.
Right? So just the inherent bias. And one reporter, Andrew McDonald, we've become friends over this item when he praised David Graham and Peter Pauley for developing in an undesirable part of HRM.
Okay.
Well, I lost my marbles.
Yeah.
Called him, and I said, we should have a little talk.
Yeah.
Sure. I admire him, right? Because he was straight up. So we took a drive all around Spryfield.
Yeah.
Every area, every corner, one end to the other. And then what I did, I took like the police reports for the crime stats, and I had 6 different communities. So there's a South End, there was Herring Cove, Ketch Harbor, there was Spryfield, Fairview, Dartmouth North, and I think I said South End, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the North End. So I put them in front of them, cover the communities, right? I said, which community would you rather live in? And they were break-in enters, assaults, drug bust, speeding, and all those other. There were 6 different categories. Well, there. I said, you're certain? Yeah. I said, you just picked Spryfield over the South End.
Wow.
Then he said, well, that's because of the students and everything. I said, I don't think we're looking at why. I think we're looking at actual measurable facts.
Yeah.
And the fact is that 5 out of 6 categories, it was better in Spryfield than in the South End of Halifax, where the really nice places
Exactly.
are, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
From that point on, he became one of our biggest supporters, one of our biggest cheerleaders.
Coming from Dartmouth to Halifax, there was a lot of the similar stigma. Like people would think Dartmouth was a terrible place, and
I mean,
hey. But
it does have a nice view of Halifax.
Watch it.
That's important. Poor Gloria. I used to tell her that.
But
Gloria.
I can understand the feeling, that sentiment. It's like it's your neighborhood, is the people you've grown up with, is the environment around them. I mean, I've always felt safe in Dartmouth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, me too. Like I never locked my doors, never locked my shed.
Yeah.
And it was funny. There was a class from St. Mary's came to the William Spry Center and wanted to talk about politics and things like that. And any opportunity to promote the community would be great. And every class has one. There's one guy.
Yeah.
There's always that guy. And we were just talking again about the crime stats and about things that were going on. And he said, well, it's not safe out here. It's dangerous. So why do you say that? Well, don't you read the papers? Yeah, but why do you say that? And he started going on about how bad it was and all this other stuff. I said, well, if you look at the crime stats, which they're lower than most other parts of HRM, not just Halifax, but HRM. He says, well, people are afraid to report crime out here. I said, okay, right. So I said, consider something like miles per gallon. They're never accurate, but they're relative. And I said, a lot of police officers live out here.
Yep.
Now, why would they live in a bad area? Well, they have guns. True. But why would retired police officers live out here?
Yeah.
Right? If it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that shut them down, right? But, one person at a time to remove the stigma. And, I still say we're doing well. It's a beautiful community.
Well, I mean, and John Buchanan is from Spryfield, and he was the premier and senator and all that. Like it was it is a bizarre thing. I mean, I think the stigma of the negative of Spryfield came between, obviously, at one point we had some family wars of drugs and things like that at some point in time, but I think that must, like, if in your experience, that must be where this came from. Because I mean, other than that, like, I've never experienced anything. I mean, I grew up in Herring Cove / Spryfield kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I've never experienced anything like bad, really. Like, outside of like high school, some stuff, whatever, right? But I mean, I would walk in Spryfield at 2 a.m. I wouldn't think twice. I have.
I used to tell people that I'd walk down the Herring Cove Road at 2 a.m. wearing a tutu and not worry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because you're wearing a tutu.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that people are still can't go past the Rotary or all these other things. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that being said, though, the area is changing quite a bit. It's growing, it's gentrifying, and things like that. But it still has that great spirit. We still have Danny Slade up there waving to everybody as you go by, right? So,
and the other thing is that if someone needs help, if there's an issue like a family's gone through a tragedy or something, I would put our community against any in the province
Yeah.
to help people with no expectation of anything in return.
This episode is brought to you by Camilla Najat with Exit Realty Metro.
Camilla Najat is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients. Camilla can help you with a comparative market analysis to help determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work with you at your pace.
You can reach Camilla by calling 902-880-8429 or email camilla@exitmetro.ca.
Also, you can find her on Facebook at Camilla Najat, Exit Realty Metro. And I could be, someone can correct me on this, but I believe, at least when I was going there, I heard that Jail Ilsley was the school that gave out the highest number of bursaries than any other high school in the province.
Indeed, per student.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
of dollars, right?
Crazy.
And I got to tell you, they brought me back one time for the graduation.
Yeah.
This is a funny story. So I prepared a speech for the kids, right? And basically said, look, treat others with respect, but treat yourself with respect. Whatever you choose to do, whether it's, vocational school, back then it was, and or you want to get a job or go to university or whatever it is, do the very best you can. And if you're going to take a year off, make use of that year. Do something you want to do and may not be able to do it later on in life.
Yeah.
So then I said, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Don't worry, it's not a test. I said, what's the capital of Guam? And it's Ghana, right? Or Agana. I said, how many stomachs are there in a shark? And there's 4. And they're looking at me. I said, these are these questions that teachers always ask, but what in the world am I going to use that for? I said, what about, you can't say snuck, it's sneaked. And they nod their heads a little. And 2x plus 3y equals 15. And they're nodding their heads up and down. I said, we always wonder, why were we asked this? Why do we have to learn this stuff? And they're shaking their heads. They get it, right? So I'm going to tell you something. I graduated high school 20 years ago. That's the first time I ever used any of that crap. And Mike Nee, the principal, nearly died laughing, and Terry Quinlan, the vice principal, she nearly fell over. They were mortified, but they loved it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, exactly. It's a way of just relating to the youth. And things
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
So really, you've been an ambassador for the area for a long time, but then you actually represented it to City Hall. See, we've had a lot of politicians on here, and I think you're really the first actual city politician. We've had mayors and things like that, and we can talk about that. But as a councillor, I don't think people realize how hard it is to actually get things done, because there's no party affiliation. There's not everyone votes the same. You have to really be a master negotiator to try to get other people to do things. How do you do that?
I find it as a person not in politics at all, a very puzzling way to kind of get things done. You have all these different councillors and they're all trying to agree on something. You almost by default almost always seem to disagree on things.
We'll try it when there's 23 councillors.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you went from 23 to 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went from 12 councillors, or
That's
aldermen, right?
Yeah.
To 23, but that was 66,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then from 66 to 23, 23 to 16.
Yeah.
And you remember when they talked about the wages and the salaries that were too high for councillors?
Yes.
Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
And they get a 2 or 3 or 4% raise in September, October. When they cut from 23 down to 16, that was probably $700,000-800,000 out of the budget.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We didn't get, 1.5 times the salary, whatever, right? The salary went up 2 or 3%, and people complained about that. And, Rick Howe, who I have an immense amount of respect for, he and I talked about that. I said, how come you didn't mention that when we saved all that money?
Yeah.
And off air, he says, okay, Adams is not coming on my show anymore. he was a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a good man.
Rick's good.
Yeah.
He's a legend in these parts. But
Yep.
I think it's funny. I think some people don't quite appreciate. They think politicians have these fat cat jobs and things like that. But I don't think I think a lot of people, if they were given the job for a year, I don't know if they would want to do it for the salary.
You don't do it for the salary.
Well, that's the thing, right? But a lot of people who look at it and go like, oh, well, I mean, now, because they're making, 103 or something like that now. So, for 103,000 to basically kind of be like, a bit of a micro celebrity, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone knows your name. Everyone knows who you are. And not only do they know who you are and all
they can
that
be
stuff,
good or bad.
They hate you or they love you or what indifferent or whatever it may be, right? It's not like working in a private sector job where you just focus on your job, right? There may be some people that don't like you, but for the most part, you're just working your job. You don't have this fame that you get with being a politician, and the amount of deep hate that people can have for you, and they may never have actually shaken your hand in their life.
Never talked to you.
Exactly.
Right? Never, ever talked to you.
Yeah.
And I got to, I had a guy call my house 2 a.m.
Over what?
Well, you'll get this in a second, right? Oh, yeah, 2 a.m.
You better have a good reason.
No. I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And I get up and listen to the message. I hope your house burns down and your wife and kids die in the fire.
Wow. Gross.
See, that annoyed me.
Yeah.
So I get out of bed. I was wild, right? You don't say that. I went right to his house.
Oh,
right?
did you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't do
so
that.
you know who this guy was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I said, why would you say that? He wouldn't open the door, right? I said, look, I just want to talk. I don't get that. He says, okay, well, I know you're not going to lie to me. He sat down, had some ginger ale.
Yeah.
So why would you say that was evil?
Yeah.
Simply evil.
Yep.
Right.
And he said, it was raining and I couldn't get a cab.
Wow.
But, what was he upset about? Can you remember?
He couldn't get a cab.
Couldn't get a cab in the rain.
That's why he got mad at you.
That's his fault.
I thought that was a joke. Just that.
Oh, no.
You couldn't get a cab to your house to tell you off in person.
I couldn't get a cab.
That's bizarre.
It is.
So mental health issues there probably with that gentleman?
Nope.
You don't think so?
No. Just mad. I had a lady call me at 3 a.m. because of her flooding problems.
Okay.
And I already had sent her the information, right? And I said, why are you calling me at this hour? Well, I thought it'd be a good time to get you. Okay. So I said, I'll get a hold of the engineer and I'll see what I can do for you. Actually, it was 10 after 3. So I said, I'll get some information for you. So I called her back at 10 after 3. Figured it was a good time for her. So never call me again.
Obviously, it takes a special person to do that, to handle that type of stuff, right? But how do you reconcile with that stuff? Never get into your head?
It always bothers you, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
As you go throughout your day, you're seeing people. You're at events and there's 1,000 people there, and you're sitting there thinking, do 50% of these people want to smack me back of the head, kind of thing?
Yeah, never been smacked. That's good. And I tell people, and people have told me, do not take it personally. Right? Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
But some have, like you said, never shaken your hand. They don't even know you.
Right.
But because you're a politician,
yeah,
it's an uphill battle right from the get-go, right? For some people, for you to deal with that. And it can be frustrating. But the funny thing is, if you have 10 angry phone calls or 20 angry phone calls, and one that says, look, I really appreciate what you did for me, thank you, all the other stuff goes away.
Yeah.
Goes the distance, yeah.
It goes away. And it's if someone would tell me that's the way it would work, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But it's true. It just goes away.
I can believe that.
Yeah, because
I can totally believe
you've
that.
helped somebody, right?
Yeah, you made a difference somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what people, they want you to call back, even if you can't do anything to help them. They've been heard.
So, looking back as your years as councillor, what were some of the things that you did that that you noticed had a good impact on your district, your community? Something you look back to.
What were the highlights?
Sewer and water at Herring Cove.
Oh, what?
Right, sewer and water at Herring Cove.
Got sewer and water out to Herring Cove.
It was promised for years and years and years, and we were finally able to deliver it.
Nice.
And another one, which doesn't seem significant to people, but there was a place out in Leveland Park, right, that they had. It was a French fry plant, they would blanch fries. It was in between Elmdale Crescent and the playground, which is there now.
Oh, okay.
Right, it was 100 Leveland Drive, and it was brutal. The smell and the waffling, it was just horrible. And finally got it removed. And the late Dan Paul, I remember when my first election in '91, he gave me a check for $100. Yeah. And the second one, also with Leveland Park, was they had terrible flooding. The flooding was abysmal. And I remember talking to the engineer, the late Bill Sullivan. And I said, you should be Dr. No. Because I don't even finish my question. You say no. And he started laughing. I said, there's flooding problems up there. He says, no, there's not. I said, I'm telling you, I've been in basements up to my ankles. I said, a friend of mine calls me, says, my basement's flooded. I went up, and his kids were swimming. They had their goggles and snorkel on, right? Okay. Swimming in the basement. So I said, that's flooding problem.
Yeah.
So finally convinced council to do to get a study done by an engineering firm, CBCL. That 80% of the basements were wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the storm sewers put in, and that relieved those who hooked into them got some relief.
Wow.
How do you what does it look like when you take a cause to council? Obviously, it's not just in front of council. You have to obviously kind of schmooze a little bit amongst your councillors to get, what does that look like? How do you try to convince the people to vote in the favor of the things that you need to get done?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And everyone's different the way they deal with it.
Yeah.
I used to just talk to council and I said, look, I've been working on this for a while. Here's what's happening, like you do the cause and effect. Here's what's happening, and this is the problems that it's creating. Said, can you support at least looking at some semblance of relief, like a study or further investigation? Like, just start the process. Don't say no. And after we get to the final part of it, and I used to tell them I don't give a rat's patootie which way you vote. What I'm concerned about is that you have the information you need to make an informed decision.
Right.
And then if you think that there's merit, then I appreciate your support. If not, I get it. No hard feelings. And never, ever, ever take it outside of council. Ever.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Never take it outside of council.
No. Well, I remember one time Wayne Mason and I get into it in council. It was pretty bad. And after it...
You guys seem like oil and water a little bit for your last...
A tad.
For your last, the last 4 years of your political career, you guys were oil and water there.
So it was bad, right?
Yeah, it was.
And then after I said, need to drive home? Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah.
Talked about our kids.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
You can't.
That's how you do it.
You leave it inside, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it'll fester and you'll hate the world.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that makes sense. You got to kind of just do it that way, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's good. Was there anyone in your 29 years that you were absolutely like, I cannot work with that person? You can choose to name names or not.
Well, I could work with anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like, after a couple times, you were just kind of like, okay, like, we are not gonna be on the same page ever.
He said this about you just before we started the podcast.
That's true. We did say that.
Are you sitting councilors or guys who do interviews? Which there were a couple that they were like, if I said the sky is blue, he'd say no, it's nighttime. No matter what. Right?
Yeah.
It just it wasn't going to work. So I figured, well, we got 22 others or 21 others I can talk to.
Put your effort elsewhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if he or she will say supported a motion, great. It was a bonus.
Yeah.
But it's not something you'd count on.
Yeah. No, that's
and
fair.
Generally, this individual would say, well, I'll keep an open mind at the hearing. I said, okay, you're a no.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not hard to figure out, right? Just tell me.
Yeah.
How important do you think? Because at one point, I know, I think it was either your second last term or your last term. At one point, it seemed like council was having a lot of in-camera meetings, and there was a lot of criticism around that.
So, in-camera meetings are only for land, personnel, or legal.
Right.
And I can tell you that I never, ever, ever participated in an in-camera meeting which fell outside those categories.
Okay.
Ever. And the information that was discussed, there was a motion at the end of the meeting in public. And the motion wasn't blatantly obvious what it was about.
Yeah.
But it was it was covered what was discussed in the in-camera. There were a lot of in-camera meetings. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Commonwealth Games. There was Harbor Solutions. Sometimes the Nova Center. There was a few things that, and there was. I remember a time, and I don't know the timeline, but you're right. There was an inordinate amount.
There was well, I can't remember if it was your second last term or your
Probably
last
the
term.
second last.
Yeah, that sounds like it might have been. Yeah. Explain to anyone who's listening. Maybe explain like why they're important.
This episode is brought to you by Strategy Up. Strategy Up is a business consulting firm led by Mark Zerka, who has over 20 years' experience in building commercial strategies that will up your game, organize your teams, increase your productivity, and grow your business.
Whether you're a construction company looking to grow your revenue or a busy restaurant owner just trying to keep the doors open, Strategy Up can help. Strategy Up's boutique-style consultations will help you improve business process across nearly any industry.
Being a successful entrepreneur does not mean you have to be an expert in everything. Strategy Up specializes in building a relationship with you. Once pain points in the business are realized, Strategy Up will introduce process and technology that will power up your game to the next level.
A successful business requires investment. Your next step towards growth starts now. Email info@mystrategyup.com for a free business discovery call. Up your game with Strategy Up.
So let's take, for example, there's a land negotiation, right? And there's, the city needs, we bought a lot of land for the Herring Cove Road widening.
Right.
So let's say, for example, you're negotiating with people. You have a property and you have a property and others have properties. If you do that in the open, well, he got $150,000 for his, I get $175 for mine, and then $200, and the prices start escalating.
Yeah.
So if you do all of the negotiations at the same time with the homeowners, and then bring it all to council at once, you discuss it, and then you have the package together, and then you approve it. Because if you do a piecemeal, then your price
drives the price up house over house. Yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it costs the city more.
Yeah,
and that's never a good thing.
No.
Personnel, if someone has done something they shouldn't or reprimanded, like sometimes there are complaints against councillors and had to deal with those, and because they fall under the personnel category.
Right.
So you got to deal with that. And legal, I don't recall something specific for the legal issues, but they weren't like someone on council did something they shouldn't. But generally, a lot of it when it was around land or contract negotiations is another one.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that in the open.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes from it.
Fair enough, yeah.
But I can tell you, as I'm sitting here, that there were no discussions in camera that were outside of those categories.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember it just seemed like the media blew it up for a while there. It was just
the
everything's
media,
in secret,
yeah.
everything's in secret.
Yeah. Well, those are the key words, right? What's in secret, or they're in a big cloak of darkness, and all the journalism 101. Let's be all theatrical and everything, and have no foundation or substance to what we're saying, but it sure reads well.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question going back to pharmaceutical sales and really the transferable skills. Like, what do you think as a pharmaceutical rep? You were out of university doing this for a few years, right?
5 years, yep.
5 years. And what skills did you learn in that field that kind of helped you transfer maybe to the political realm or in the council realm?
Communication, talking with people, and if you can speak to somebody, get your point across, and not fumble and mumble and all that, you'll do well, right? Proper grammar. People laugh, but it's important.
Yeah,
it really is important. And when you talked earlier about getting your council colleagues on side. Well, in sales, same thing, right? You're selling yourself or selling your idea, and you find out what are the underlying issues. Sometimes they may not like me. Okay, that's your underlying issue. Then we move along. Right. But if you find out what the underlying issues are, then you can help resolve them. If you can resolve those, then you get to I agree with you reasonably quickly. But if you can't resolve it, then you're not gonna be successful. But you can't be successful every time.
Yeah. So I
certainly do try.
Too. Yeah, with that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, looking back on there, is there anything that you're sitting there thinking like, I wish I could have got that done?
The last phase of Herring Cove Sewer and Water.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you going to get out to Ketch Harbor by chance?
Will it get out to Ketch Harbor?
No, were you aiming to? That's where I live now. So were you aiming to get out to Ketch Harbor?
Guaranteed not. No, it could have gotten down past the gas station, Steve Murphy's, right?
Yeah.
Because there was plenty of development, but the staff wouldn't hear of it. And there just wasn't enough money to get it done.
Yeah.
Right? There just wasn't. And that was one of the problems. There was money in there for a tower, and I moved that money from the tower at the top of Ocean Breeze.
Yep.
And instead of doing that, did more like Village Road and out John Brackett Drive.
Yeah.
Right.
I always wonder, there's so many like freshwater lakes out there in Sambro too. Like, there's seems like there's an opportunity, but maybe it's just too expensive.
Yeah, but it gets expensive. And
Yeah.
there was one time I took a lot of criticism. There wasn't enough money to do the next phase.
Yeah.
We were told we were going to get $19 million. Got something like 3 or 4.
Ouch. Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? You're going to service 5 or 6 houses, and they pay $70,000 each when everybody else paid $12,500.
Right.
So that's not good.
Right.
Yeah.
So there were 2 options. Try to get that through and make people mortgage their houses to pay for this, which really isn't good, or transfer the money.
Right.
And I was criticized heavily for it by people who knew better, but didn't fit their narrative.
Yeah.
And I said, well, move it out to Fall River.
Yeah.
They can use that and apply it towards their contribution for the entire community, because if it didn't get allocated, it just disappeared and gone nowhere. So you can you can put this forward and have someone get some benefit, or you can be stubborn and say, we're gonna stay here with it. We're gonna try and fight and lose it all.
Right.
And it's just dumb.
Yeah, water is always a big issue. I mean, like, obviously out in Heronsfield, that was a big issue, right? With the water stuff out in Heronsfield was always a big issue when I ran.
Still an issue today.
Still an issue today.
So Harrietsfield, I don't really understand the issue as well. Even though I live on the other side of the loop, I've never educated myself on it. So what's going on in Harrietsfield with this water that's been like?
I mean, I understand it, but I'll let Steve be the one to answer it.
A lot of people don't understand.
No.
There's been issues.
I've
there
just seen the signs up, and every once in a while, and that. So I don't really understand it. What would you say?
There were issues there since the 80s.
Yeah,
it's in the land use bylaw. To high your arsenic and uranium levels, right?
Yeah,
right.
They were in the bylaw, and they were a problem. So, we won't get into names, but what had happened, RDM came about, and people don't realize how it came about. There was Nicholson's Auto Salvage, and that was, you go in to get a radiator, you bring your WD-40 and your wrench, and you take it out of the car and cut the hose, and stuff drains into the ground, and away we go, right? Everyone's happy.
Good old days.
Yeah, good old days. So what happened is that, and I had no idea, this was a discussion with staff and the proponent at the time, where, Nicholson's Auto Salvage recycled, repurposed, sold car parts. So RDM came in, and they had building materials, and they ground up a lot of stuff. So, and some of it went out to the landfill for cover. Well, the planner of the day said, well, you are recycling and reselling building materials. Well, they might have done a little bit, right? But that's how they put the use as similar to Nicholson's.
Yeah, right.
And that's how they got the license to operate out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened is they got the permits, and again, this is not a council decision, but then you see mounds of gyprock.
Right.
Gyprock everywhere. And that was when I said, look, this is wrong. This stuff is going to leach into the groundwater. It's going to leach everywhere. You got to find a way to deal with it. So through a huge fight, I'll admit that, we got them the zoning to allow for burial, right? Which would protect it from the environment. It would protect everything.
Yeah.
And that, I know people were upset, but, if you have something exposed, it's going to be really bad.
Right.
So then they applied for their permit to bury from the city. The city gave the permit, and then they had to go to the province. The province says, nope, not doing it. We're not going to allow you to bury. That's not good.
Yeah.
And the minister at the time, I could tell you, it was 4:15 on a Friday afternoon. I was on the Cornwall Road. And he called me. I pulled over and said, with due respect, you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right, to a minister. So anyway, the city didn't bother given them a permit to bury, right? Didn't bother because they knew the province would say no. The same minister a year later gave them a permit to bury 120,000 tons.
Oh.
Bypass the city processes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the story.
Yeah.
Right? That's the story. Now, people may or may not believe it. I don't care. Because those are the facts.
And I do remember, because, and we'll eventually talk about your decision to retire from politics, but I do remember in your last term, because you and I had discussed this a lot because you knew I was going to run.
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to replace him? Was that the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I ran for his seat.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Listen, when I ran, this is why I have a ton of respect for Steve. Not that I didn't beforehand, but when I ran for about a solid 6 months, he gave me a lot of his time. I probably spoke to you, every second day for 6 months.
Amazing.
You were probably the person I spoke to the most outside of my wife.
It's funny because I told all the candidates, right? I'll meet with you. We can talk, whatever you want. It'll all be, no one will ever know we spoke.
Yep.
I promise you. And Matt and I spoke more than anyone.
Yeah.
That was after...
He talks a lot, right? He's a big...
Oh, my heavens. Someone should tell him you have 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen to twice as much as you say. But I enjoyed it. I did, right?
For sure.
And sometimes it was like 10:30 at night.
It was, Sometimes it was late at night because I was knocking on doors, right? And I was getting home.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. And there were other candidates that not as frequently.
Let's give Matt some advice real quick. Do you think just because he lost once, he shouldn't run again?
That's up to him.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? That's up to him. That's it's a personal choice, a personal decision.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. And actually, winning an election is sometimes more difficult than the job.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, you were close, and I was there that night with you. I remember that,
you
dude.
were.
Yeah. Holy smokes. Yeah. You were close.
Yeah.
It was a shitty night, but,
Yeah. Crappy night.
Yeah.
But it's, I wouldn't trade that 29 years for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you do a lot of good, right? You see,
like to think.
You have a lot of challenges and stuff, perceptions of you, and they can sometimes run away, I'm sure, and sometimes they're probably, maybe might be true sometimes too, right?
I'll never run away.
But you got, you can get to kind of look back and say, hey, I did a few things for my community at least that I can stand behind.
A lot of the ones that are yappy and everything, like little chihuahuas, right?
Yeah.
You look at them and, they run.
Yeah.
And you can't respect that. I would rather someone come up to me and tell you, I think you're a moron, I think you're this, I think you're that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't know
So
what to
then
do.
you decided to retire. What made you retire?
Yeah. I want to ask you about retirement. Yeah.
29 years.
Okay.
Next. It's a long time, right?
You could have, I no doubt in my mind, you could have went there until you chose not to, which obviously you did, but you could have probably won another election. I mean,
Perhaps.
What was it? Twice you were just acclaimed?
Claimed twice,
Yeah.
And the last two, everyone made a big deal of me moving to Bedford.
That's right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So the 2004 election, simply said, I fell in love with a woman from Bedford who has 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's no way I would take those children out of their community, out of their home, out of their schools, and away from their friends for political purposes.
Yeah.
Right? I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? And if I lose election on it, so be it. That's fine. That's fine. So I remember a debate at the William Spry, and they were bringing this up, and you kind of get tired of it, right? But it is what it is. So I remember saying that, look, with due respect to my fellow candidates here, I've lived here longer than you have.
Yeah.
And, I've forgotten more about Spryfield and the surrounding communities than you'll ever know.
Yeah.
And I said, if you worry about where someone lays your head at night, then, okay, vote for them. But if you want to know what's more important, having something in your head, I'm your guy. And there was a guy said, Alan Marriott. I said, see where Alan's sitting? Yeah. That was my grade 4 seat because it was at G.K. Butler, which was, the William Spry. And the funniest one, there was a debate. It was in 2012 when Prospect Road came into it.
That's right, yeah.
And there were 3 candidates, myself and 3 others. And I said the same thing about, fell in love. And speaking of that, we had our 18th anniversary yesterday.
Oh,
it was
congratulations.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. in love as I've always been, and more so every day. So it's beautiful. So I get up and I.
She's retired now too, isn't she?
Yeah,
That's
she's
right.
retired. Yeah.
Just
Loving
recently,
it.
right?
Just loving it.
Yeah.
And I'm a grandfather now too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Life is really good.
That's awesome.
So I said, I fell in love, and here we are. And apparently these guys were scratching out all kinds of stuff they had. Right? So then at the end of it, I was the last one to speak. It worked out perfectly. I was the first one to speak, and then the last one as well. To sum it up, I said, before we go further, I just want to thank my candidate colleagues here for offering and for your service. So there's a firefighter and a retired military fellow and a retired police officer. No. I said, all I need is a white hard hat and we could be the village people. And that lightened everything up.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I can understand that some people might, when they say like, oh, we want someone from the area, I can understand what they mean by that. But I think in the end, what they're saying is we want someone who understands our problems.
Yep.
And in the end, I think you did, because you were born and raised most of your life there. I mean, even still to this day, as you said, you just handed off the ownership of the Spryfield Junior C team. So even still after retirement, you're still very much deep roots in the community.
Yeah. Well, look at Nick Marr, right? Who served on council for the city for 33 years.
Okay.
Lived on Randolph Street, represented Quimpo Road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Gloria McCluskey
Yeah.
doesn't live in the area. Tony Mancini. Robert Chisholm. Now, there's a story.
Yeah.
Robert Chisholm, when John Buchanan left, right? So there was Robert Chisholm, Judy Hartling, and Rennie Quigley, right? Judy Hartling, sorry. And Robert came from the valley, lived on the other side of the rotary, so up off Dutch Village Road.
Yeah.
And no one really knew who he was. So, Randy Ball was the other candidate. Well-known, well-respected county councillor. And who's Robert? No one really knew him. An NDP candidate, respectfully, that's not what Spryfield was about at the time, because John Buchanan PC. So I got to correct this. It was Robert, Randy, and Judy Harlan.
Yeah.
Okay. So Robert worked and worked, and he won. He won, right?
Yeah.
Didn't live in the area, wasn't born there, had no ties, and then he won again. So it's people want someone who's going to represent them and do the best they can for those people, right?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I want to ask about UDI. You moved over to be the executive director of Urban Development Institute.
Yep.
And that's stationed in Spryfield, isn't it?
No.
Sorry?
No.
Okay.
It's our office is Duke Tower.
Oh, Duke Tower. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, close enough. Okay.
He still overlooks his old job. He overlooks City Hall.
City Hall. I can see it
office.
right from my office. I can see City Hall.
On. Yeah. How did you get into this role, and why are you doing it?
So it was September of 2020, and there was I got a phone call. I'm at home. I get a phone call. And he starts with, before you interview with anyone or sign a contract, you got to talk to me. Okay. What's it about? Can't tell you. I said, well, geez, man. He said, no, it's okay. He says, it's a job.
Yeah.
I said, okay, what does this entail? I can't tell you. I said, holy man, can you be a little more vague? So he did tell me it was development related. So I spoke to John Treyes, city solicitor.
Yeah.
I said, I've been approached about a job in development. I don't know anything else. He said, okay. He says, well, you don't have any more council meetings. There's no influence you could have. So, yeah, go ahead. So after my last Rick House show, I went down and met this fella, told me about the job, and they wanted me to work for them.
Cool.
So, over the next month to a couple months, we went through some things and came up with a contract. And January 4th, 2021, which was my 60th birthday, I get hired.
Cool.
And then I told them I'd give them 3 years, and now it's 4.5 so far.
And for anyone listening, what does UDI do?
So the Urban Development Institute, we we work with the provincial government and the federal government, and sometimes we lobby, sometimes we look at bylaws, look at things that may or may not seem right.
Yeah.
And you look at, for example, there was they wanted to do a vacant lot tax. The city did, right?
Yeah.
Thinking, that doesn't make any sense, because for every charge that is put on a property by whomever, recommended by council, staff, whatever the case may be, every charge gets back to the renter or the buyer or the leaseor, whoever leases, right?
Yeah.
So if you add $10,000 or $100,000 to a property, that money gets spread amongst all the people renting.
Right.
So instead of jumping up and down and going to the media and press release, I got a meeting with the planning staff. And I said, what does this actually mean? Like, why? They had no idea because it was brand new.
Right.
I said, look, we're not going to put all kinds of press releases out, but just bear in mind that no matter what you do, if you add money, it just goes back to the people who are renting. Right?
True enough.
So something like that. And, we've been criticized because of our members. Well, the people are saying that out of ignorance. They just don't have a clue, right?
Yeah.
So we represent developers and builders, consultants, engineers, architects. We've got several not-for-profits on UDI.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So I figured, and the memberships are they're pricey for the builders and developers, but I asked our board, and they approved it to allow the not-for-profits to come in for $150.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
And
That's not
HST.
bad.
Because the continuum on their knowledge of development is right from a little above zero to fairly well versed.
Yeah.
And everywhere in between. But we want to share our expertise. And for those that are jumping to conclusions here, there's nothing in it for our members. There's just not, right?
Yeah.
But it's a way to share information to help people get where they want to get. And we've had some pretty decent success in helping them because they had no idea.
That's no different than any other professional association, though.
No, it's a not-for-profit. We're a not-for-profit association. That's right.
There's lots of different professions that have associations so they can benefit and together they're stronger type of thing. Right?
Exactly. And we can learn the challenges that the not-for-profits face and help them overcome them. Like even on my first conference call with them, they were trying to figure out, if we have a piece of land, we want to know what we can do with it. And I said, you and I will talk after this meeting, and I'll save you months of work.
Right.
And I told them exactly what to do. Yeah. And they got their answer within 3 days of what they could and could not do.
So can Matt and I talk to you when we want to, put our afternoon pint pub and some business
there
offices?
You go. Of course you.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that you get people who they sometimes draw conclusions that aren't there.
Okay.
And then developers are the worst guys in the world. Like developers are human beings.
Yeah, they're people.
They are, and they're decent people. They work hard. They take all the risks. People criticize them, but most of the people who do the criticism, they live in a house or an apartment.
We're in the need for homes. We're in the need for places for people to live. We're in the need for economic growth. Right. These are no brainers, and I don't care what side you're on right now.
Doesn't matter.
Kind of agree on those few things.
Exactly.
So I can see the value of having these types of organizations. Right.
Yeah, and we have a conference every year in November. And last year, I figured it'd be a good idea to talk to other municipalities. So we had a municipal panel from West Hants, the Valley, so that was the head of planning, and Lunenburg County.
Okay.
And one of the things that was brought up by Wolfville was we have a need for 1,800 units, and we have no idea how we're going to get them. And we only have 10 years to do it. Well, you're in the right audience, man.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys that put together, 400 unit buildings and know how to do it and do it right.
In your expertise, obviously, you're really an ideal person to ask this question to because you were obviously 3 decades in politics and now obviously working in the Development Institute. Like, given the fact that we need to do such rapid building in order to fulfill a need and to get to a point where maybe rent can even start coming down at some point, what if you had the magic wand and can do it, what would you suggest we do right away?
Well, the Housing Accelerator Fund was an excellent start.
Okay.
Excellent, because it increased height in certain areas. Take, for example, down the south end.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm dealing with a project now in the south end, which is quite close to the hospital, and there's been some roadblocks thrown at us. So we're working on, right? Why would you do that? You know, if you can provide housing for medical professionals, right, that are next to the hospital, like if you need something, you know, for doctors on call or whatever,
Right.
on a bus route, like that's the perfect definition of where the housing accelerator fund works, right? Same with the universities. You've got properties there that can be developed and you know, let the private sector come in. They will, you know, the students will decide if they can afford it or not. But you're right, we need more housing stock. So an issue I'm dealing with now is after the regional plan was approved, it brought my attention that every space for a multi-unit building had to have an EV-ready charging stall.
Okay.
$5,000 to $10,000 per stall. That's what it would cost, not including the charger.
That is costly.
It is, but that's only part of it.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a 400-unit building, then you have to upgrade like the transformers. You have to upgrade the panels. Like you increase the amperage in your services. All kinds of other costs.
Yeah. Can you get money from the government from that?
Nothing available that I'm aware
by
of.
the government to mandate the EVs?
Not aware of right now.
Okay. Just
Not for EVs. You can get stuff from. You can get government funding if you want to put like HVACs or heat pumps and things
Solar
like
panels,
that.
stuff like
solar
that.
panels.
Yeah.
Like to make your home more efficient. But
I was
nothing
just
to install
curious.
that.
The city doesn't put gas pumps in every space. Why an EV charging station? Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And you know, we're not against, like UDI is not opposed to having EV ready stalls. Not at all. But allow the market. Like if I have an electric vehicle, I am not going to rent in a building that doesn't have a charging stall.
Right.
Just simple. So
Yeah.
the good ones, the good developers, the smart ones that are forward thinking, if they have 100 spaces, maybe they'll make 20 or 30, 20, 25 spaces
Yeah.
with, you know, with a conduit at least for the EVs.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And then piece of cake, you know, okay, we just fire the wires through and away we go. We're good.
Yeah.
But to mandate every single unit, and that's what we're talking about now. We had a good meeting with the city last week, and
So
said,
do they want to mandate the units, every single unit, because of their mandate to
It's
like
not their
have
mandate, though.
all electric
It was their
vehicles in
opinion.
the future? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
and you know, if you follow the news, electric vehicle sales are going down.
It's they are declining right now.
Right.
Yeah. It's a
Right.
weird year for that stuff. Yeah.
Well, with
There's just a lot
tariffs
of
and
Tariffs
is
is some of it. Also, I think, I mean, you know, the number one electric vehicle is Tesla, and people kind of have a hate on for Elon right now.
Sure,
So
yeah.
that's going to
Yeah,
be a
fair
driving
enough,
factor
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah,
it's a couple different things.
Yeah. I love the concept of hybrid. I mean, I think that's my favorite concept when you're talking EVs, because you get the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
You know, better fuel economy and
get everything.
Yeah. You're still drastically reducing carbon emissions, but you're not making it such a desperate attempt for people to have charged all the time,
Yeah,
right?
you
which is going to be geographically is going to be a problem for Canada for a long time,
Oh my heavens, yes.
right? Because think of how we're laid out. We're not the same as a big city. Like we're just very different.
We're not Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Size of Europe, but not the density.
Yeah, exactly. We're pretty
Yeah,
sparse.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. When you
Yeah.
think about how small Germany is, and they have over 80 million people in there, right? So yeah,
And
Yeah.
300-kilometer-an-hour trains in Italy. I love that.
yeah,
That's cool.
great too.
Yeah,
that's
You
cool.
can also drive if your car can get it. In Germany, you can get 300 kilometers on the highway too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get 300, but I got 224.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that was good.
Right on.
It was fun. But yeah, so I mean, that's what are some other things like? Because I know this is a hot topic for people right now. Of like, I know you and I had a lot of discussions about housing at the time, and this is 5 years ago, before I would say we were even really in a housing crisis, because prior to COVID, we didn't have the flock of people that moved here. Like we were still having normal rental situations and housing, stuff like that. And then COVID hit, and a bunch of people moved here, and people stopped building. Like, as you probably knew, like people weren't building that much during like the first 2 years of COVID kind of thing, right? A lot of that halted.
Well, there were some developers, this was recently as a year and a half, 2 years ago, that were right on the edge. Should I build or park my money in a 5% GIC.
Right.
There were several like that.
Yeah, I bet.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So nothing's getting built, and sometimes the process can be long as well.
Right.
Right? They can be long and can be cumbersome.
Yeah.
But, there was the new it's called posse system for permitting. We had quite a few problems with it. So instead of complaining about it, I got, 4 HRM staff people who deal with these things.
Yeah.
And brought some of the real experts from UDI, and we had a 4-hour workshop and said, here's where we need help. Here's where we think it works well. And it worked.
Why are we not building like giant buildings in Halifax, though?
People are allergic to height here for
They
whatever
are,
reason.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Is that the fire thing? Like I saw something the other week
There is some
about
stuff recently with firefighting.
I mean,
Firefighting in Halifax was saying they weren't prepared to fight
yeah,
fires.
yeah, I saw something about that. Just
Well, maybe with the Halifax or the Housing Accelerator Fund, they could take some of their money and get some things, or sprinkler or whatever. New York, you can do it. Most other places can do it. Look at the building right down by the Rotary.
That's
Yes.
a good point. What you just said. Most other places can do it.
Yeah, we can do it.
right there. So it has to be.
I think
that has to be a mentality that's embraced a little more sometimes.
Everyone, it can happen. It happens in Toronto and things like that.
But preparation for it's good as well.
The problem with it is the right funding is not going to the. As Steve said, there's a little bit of a allergic reaction to height. I mean, for the longest time, it's like you got to see the harbor from Citadel Hill, which was dumb because it's like we're not in war times. We have radio and stuff like whatever, right? We didn't need flags to communicate with each other anymore.
Yeah.
But there's that. But it's because we're not building big buildings. Therefore, it's like a catch-22. The city's not putting funding into the fire department to properly equip them with the things they need to do this, because there's there's not really a need. We don't really go super high anyway. It's like,
Maybe that's why.
That's the thing. Right? We need to start building them, and then the fire department all equally needs the funding to be able to.
And then
up.
there's training on top of that.
And training on top of it.
So
exactly.
The other thing too is, you could go to a public hearing, and there's a proposal for a 10-story building.
Okay.
Well, some people think that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So they come in too high, mass, scale, wind, shadows. There's a checklist of things that people are going to say of being opposed to this.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Too much traffic, not enough parking, all these other things.
Right.
And some people say, what about the schools? Well, okay, so if someone who has children in school go somewhere else, they can move somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to go there. There's options, right?
Right.
But it's the people who already have a home and are comfortable that are, quite a few times they're the ones that are complaining about these, right? I get it.
I can empathize.
I understand
with
that.
Right?
Yeah, I get that.
Stuff, but then you gotta kind of see how we gotta figure this stuff out eventually
for the greater good, right?
Well, in your time in politics, you would have dealt a lot with like the NIMBYs, as the term goes.
What's right? I didn't even know what a NIMBY is.
Oh, it's not in my backyard.
Oh gosh, okay,
It's an
yeah,
acronym.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, the NIMBYs of the. Of
Should
the
have probably
world.
written that down and asked instead of telling everybody.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like there's everyone. You hear it so much online on Facebook and stuff like that. And they're like, we need housing, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, great. Well, we're going to put like a 20-story building in your in your neighborhood. They're like, whoa, well,
not there.
We need housing, just not here.
Or my
happening everywhere
favorite,
now, yeah.
my favorite is, I'm not against development, but
Yeah.
if I had $1, if I had $1 for every time I heard that. Right?
Yeah. Fair enough.
And they actually believe they're not against development, but they are.
Well,
Maybe that's what we'll title this episode. I'm not against development, but ...
I mean, there's certainly, I agree with there's some concerns. Like there's
And
infrastructure.
legitimate concerns.
There's infrastructure things we need to get done. I understand, along the Herring Cove Road, there's going to be something like, what is it, like close to 2,800 units that are getting built in there. And then, so that means it's a lot of people that are going to be put in there. And yes, Herring Cove Road is crazy as it is. You travel it all the time. Mm-hmm. So Herring Cove Road can get backed up. Do we need better road infrastructure to get those people out? Yeah, we do.
Well, the JRTA is looking at it. And you raised a good point about the 2,800, and people are saying, well, Steve Adams approved all those. Well, here are the facts, right? So Green Acres,
Yes. Yeah.
Briarwood,
Yeah.
right? There was a lot of that was as of right. And I remember in 2019, 2020, we changed the zoning to allow some semis, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I worked to approve. The 383 Herring Cove Road.
Are you saying you're not the reason I drive slower into the city?
Because none of the stuff I've built yet. 1,000 comedians out of work, and you're trying to be funny. So, but 383 Herring Cove Road, right? Which they could have had the standard 4-story block, right? But instead a 60-unit building with affordable units, and those started at $1,400 for a single 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with quartz countertops and stainless appliances, right?
Yeah.
And the end of Lynette Road, the other one, there's 43 or 46 units there.
It's a nice building, though. The one rated,
it's beautiful,
right behind the mall there, like you said.
It's beautiful, and the bonus there, it's underground parking. And the fellow, and full disclosure, he built my house for me, but he dug everything out, put $1 million in remediation to that site because it was a former Shell gas station.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
I remember the gas station.
So
there, yes.
that remediation, in the other way, wouldn't have been. It would have been surface parking.
I mean, some of the developers in the area have been, pretty generous. I mean, Peter Pauley, I'll say that.
Wonderful guy.
I was on the board when we got Long Lake working. I mean, you sat in all the meetings too. So, but yeah, I was on the board, and I mean, the amount of money that Peter put into Long Lake, like he donated all the gravel that does the trails, 6 kilometers of trails.
Okay.
He bulldozed the trails.
Wow.
And it was a win-win situation. Spryfield and the surrounding areas got a really great
Beautiful park.
And in return, Peter Pauley, who was building a community across the street, got to say, my community that I'm building that I want to sell houses to is right across from a really nice provincial park. It's a win-win, right? But there's nothing wrong with that.
And for the people, mostly. There you go. They're the ones that benefit the most.
Well-loved park now.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to get into our 10 questions, Matt. So sorry, but
let's do it.
We went over time, but that's great. That's a good thing about podcasts. You can do these as long as you want.
Whatever you want, right?
There's no one really telling us to stop, except for my kid.
I probably have to stop at sun up.
I'm supposed to be at an ice cream social here at 6:30, so we got to wrap it up.
Catch Harbor.
Yeah, that's
There you
right.
go. That's good too.
There you go.
So this is the fun part of our show. They're kind of sometimes.
Well, I thought that was the fun part.
Well, it's all fun, but
This is the lightning round.
they're dumb questions, silly questions. Some of them are smart, but just want to get a quick answer from your lightning round. Yeah, so I'll start if you want.
Go for it.
Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay. In the recent events on Morris Street in Halifax, bike lanes or is that lane?
Is what?
What do you think about bike lanes on Morris Street? The one way. Did you hear about this?
I heard about it,
Okay.
and I know that the port was opposed to it. I tell you, I don't pay much attention to that kind of stuff anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have the information that council has
Okay.
to make that decision, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a safe answer.
true.
Okay, good. Okay, next question, Matt.
All right. Should HRM taxpayers contribute to a stadium?
Yes,
I like that answer.
and I'll tell you why.
Yeah. No,
The same night that they said no to the $25 million CFL stadium, which I told the LeBlanc, I don't call it that.
Yes.
It's a stadium.
Yeah.
Council approved $16 million for the Commons wading pool, which is used 6 months of the year, and never for the rest of it. But a stadium could be used year round.
That's right.
Don't call it a CFL stadium, because what's that? 8 to 10 games.
Yeah, or 10 games.
But what about the universities for soccer and football? What about high school? What
Taylor
about
Swift?
There you go. Right. Let me get her on the line. I'll get her to play. Right. For concerts, there's all kinds of events that could have occurred there.
Yeah.
Right. They say that the stadium wouldn't generate any income or anything. Well, I'll tell you, until they start charging those children to go to the pool, they're not going to generate any income either.
And
No, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
and the culture has changed here. It's so much more different. So you don't just have to think of what we would be used to. There's so many other uses.
Well, it was
for a
framed
stadium
incorrectly
now.
because,
Right.
you got millionaires getting their free stadium. Well, I don't think you combine all 12 players on the field, they don't make $1 million.
Yeah,
Not in
seriously.
CFL.
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
Anyway,
Not in CFL. Yeah.
so much for a one-word answer.
That's all good.
My turn?
Yeah, your
okay.
turn.
Okay. One regret or thing you would have done differently in life if given a second chance. So you can pull this from anywhere. Just say one regret you have, or one thing you said, geez, I would have done that differently if you reframed it.
August of 1978, August 3rd, 10 to 4.
What? Sorry?
I 1978, August 3rd, 10-4.
10-4.
I was on my motorbike
Yeah.
going out to, when Matt would know, you'd know this too.
Sure.
The four-way stop at Rocking Stone Road and Old Chamber Road.
Yeah.
I went out there. I was going to go up there and then around, leave and drive, come back home. And a Mack truck came around the corner, boulders fell off and hit me.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I could have taken him 2 out of 3. But it ruined my knee. I had 3 surgeries since.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And I had a chance to be on the Nova Scotia Games soccer team and called my coach in tears. I couldn't play.
Change your life.
Jeez, wow.
It did. But you know
Crazy.
something? That maybe that accident changed something else that could have been worse.
Helped
that's
enable
true.
some other stuff, too. Yeah.
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 Yep.
Cool.
All right. Next question for here.
I'll be a little more specific next time.
Should the mayor have superpowers?
I have no idea because I don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. I don't know what he can and cannot do. I think there's an argument to be made if these were to be considered, could have done it before the election.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I don't know what they entail. I hear that you can fire and hire senior staff, but not fire and police. I don't know the ramifications of it. Right? I don't know.
We might have to get him on to see what the frustrations are.
That's what's going to happen.
There you go.
Over to you.
All right. All right. Silly question here now. If you had to eat steak dinner or lobster dinner for 1 full week, which would you choose?
Steak.
Steak, man.
And if you had a third option, cod, I'd take cod instead of all 2 of them.
Cod over
really?
lobster.
In a
Yeah?
New York minute done properly
really?
with scrunchions. Oh,
There you go. Scrunchions.
oh,
A little brewis on the side? You
no,
don't-
no.
brewis?
But you know, they call them breweries in Newfoundland. But
Yeah.
There's a place in Newfoundland, Bay Roberts, Donna's Country Kitchen, and the
Yeah.
Silverwood in the Motel.
Yeah.
And I used to go there. It was a beautiful piece of pan-fried cod. It was hanging over the edge
Yep.
with fresh-cut fries, steamed vegetables, butterscotch chip cheesecake, and a glass of ginger ale for $20. And it was a meal made for a king.
Amazing. There you go.
I take that over a steak or lobster any day.
All right, then. All right. Here's an easy, fun question.
They're all easy and fun.
Yeah. Non-political, though. I know you're a sports guy, so tell me, in your opinion, who is the GOAT of each of the major 4? So hockey, baseball, football, basketball. Who's the GOAT in each of them?
Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky. Baseball's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would say Ken Griffey Jr.
It's a good pick.
Ken Griffey Jr. because he could hit, he could field, he
Yep.
could run. He never got in trouble,
It's true.
right?
Yeah.
Never
There
got in
you go.
trouble.
Yeah, never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in football, I know your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know your guy.
It's the guy.
Well, there you go. Let's try not to influence this. I still think it's more related to the era, because with Brady, I mean, he was drafted by the Montreal Expos, right?
That's right. Yeah. He was a catcher.
So he in his era, best ever.
Yeah.
But Joe Montana in his era, right?
Yeah.
Best
Montana
ever.
was the best ever. Yeah.
Now in the
At time.
70s, Terry Bradshaw, I will say his team won 4 Super Bowls.
Yes.
He was all right, but he was not the best quarterback of that era.
Yeah. No, it's
But
true.
you remember back then, so see some of the, Jack Lambert's my favorite professional athlete of all time.
I know you're a Lynn Swan guy too. I thought you talked about that before. I thought you were
I
a Lynn Swan.
didn't mind him, right?
Yeah.
He said, how come you're so fast? He says, well, I had to leave practice early, 15 minutes to go to ballet lessons, and my name was Lynn. You had to learn to run fast. But, you look at what Jack Lambert, Dick Butkus, those guys did.
Yeah.
Guys coming across forearms and everything, pile driving guys, right? The 80s, it slacked up a bit, and then, they protect the quarterbacks now so much.
Yeah.
It's a different game. It's a different game. So I'd say Brady and then Montana.
Yeah. All right. over to you.
All right. So I saw in 2016, Jacob Boom from the Coast at that time asked you 15 questions that were quite similar to what we're doing right now. And I like doing a little research just before we got into this. So my favorite answer was what you said about bureaucracy and HRM. You said, regardless of the issue, waiting 2 to 3 years for an answer is not acceptable. What are your thoughts on the issues that Halifax regional municipality face today?
The development processes have gotten better, right? But they can always improve, right? And I know some people, if they get something done in 6 months, then they want 4. But I think, with the processes, and Amherst has a really good model. Right now with the city, you would have you get your proposal submitted to staff, and then they send it up to council for initiation, and then they'd start the process. In Amherst, what they do is they do the same process, except the first time it comes before any governing body, it goes to the PAC and a public information meeting. So you find out what's going on at the beginning, what people like, what they don't like. I have a proposal on the books up there now. Started off with 7 multis, now it's 4. It's got some buffering for the existing homes, buffering for the swampland, and now they're working on a model that everybody is basically on side with, or at least the majority of people are. Instead of getting to your public information meeting a year and a half down the road and waiting 8 more months to get the results of that tabulated.
Right, so they're automating the process to make it faster.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And I find, look, I've always been a supporter of HRM staff, but they've got to learn to make a mistake and not be worried about make a mistake.
Right.
Do something that is outside. Feel uncomfortable about it. Because an answer that's wrong can be fixed. No answer, there's no hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is our last question.
No,
okay. This will be number 9 then.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
So, because you've been through all of this, hindsight 2020 was amalgamation the best move for HRM?
There's a multifaceted answer there. So, put in perspective, Halifax was on schedule to be debt-free in 1999.
Right.
250th anniversary. Dartmouth had a $110 million deficit, and I think their current $100 million deficit, and their current budget was 130, right?
Right.
And in line for a huge increase because they had Lake Major, right? That they had to bring in. Bedford had a similar per capita cost that as did Dartmouth, and the county was in for a pretty big increase in assessment. Big thing like that, like a big area is difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I've got that's going to be part of my book. I'm going to get an accountant to look at the financial statements at 1996 April 1st or March 31st. That'll tell the tale, or at least part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And because Halifax Council, HRM Council is not allowed to have a deficit. Like they're not allowed unless the province grants it.
Yeah.
Grants it to do so.
But they're not going to run any deficits.
No, exactly.
You can raise taxes, right?
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, last question.
Last question, Stephen. So we ask every guest this one. What's one piece of advice you were given in your lifetime that you'd like to pass down? It could be given to you from anybody.
My dad said, if you were going to help somebody, help them with no expectation of anything in return.
Perfect. The Spryfield way.
Right on.
There you go. Very good, gentlemen. All right. Well, one last cheers. Did my glass go in?
Yeah, she took it. But anyway,
Cheers.
Yeah.
They can't see that.
And just as a shout out, thank you very much to the Clayton Park Bar and Grill.
That's right.
They hosted us here, so very much appreciate them allowing us to record another session here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, then. All right,
my
take care
pleasure,
now.
gentlemen.
All right.
you.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to The Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.